Junkies!
So let's start talking about Castlevania. The history of Castlevania goes back to the first game was in 1980, six or is it 7?
It might have been
86. Technically 86 if you think about the Famicom,
Japan,
right?
Yeah, but 87 over here.
Right. So Castlevania is a great game that Konami put out. The original was starring Simon Belmont, but the lore has since grown exponentially since then. So I'm gonna turn it over to the other members of the show that know a lot more about Castlevania than I do. GQ, let's start with you. So you got the draconian goblet there. So
drink the blood of your enemies.
that's right. So talk a little bit about what Castlevania means to you.
Castlevania for me was when I first got my NES was probably the 4th game that I ended up getting. Of course, everybody had Mario Brothers. That
Right.
was kind of a given, even
Right.
if you got the control deck. Your parents bought you Mario Brothers along with it. But yeah, once I got Castlevania, it was a different type of game. Obviously, been used to playing Atari and ColecoVision and all that, and it was just like, wow, this game is crazy. They got zombies coming after you and bats and endless bottomless pits everywhere you look, and Medusa heads and more endless bottomless pits that as soon as you seem to get hit, you find a way to fall into one and lose all your progress and have to start over. But no, Castlevania has always been that deal for me, except for the second one. Simon's Quest was just Simon's Quest does not jive with me
Is
at
that
all.
the one that
It didn't
everybody
jive
in
with a
lines?
lot of people.
And you know what? What is it with second games? Like the Adventure of Link was terrible too.
I think the problem was with Simon's Quest is they tried to go more like what the Famicom Vampire Killer game was. Because if you look at Vampire Killer, at first glance, it looks just like the regular Castlevania. Then once you get into the castle is a maze in Vampire Killer. And, of course, in our version, it was just, stages, basically. Just go through, boom, get to the next stage, keep going. In Vampire Killer, it was like you searching all over the castle to find keys and this and that. So I think when Simon's Quest came out, they were like, yeah, we're going to take the Japanese approach. And it's like, nobody likes that over here. We ain't down
We're
for
not
that
Japanese.
yet. Like, not yet.
Right.
Zelda was a killer.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Exactly.
So I think when they brought it back down to what I liked with Dracula's Curse, it was like, oh, sweet, cool, But I'm going to turn it over to Dido because he's even more of a Castlevania head than I am.
Yeah.
Well, taking me back, I didn't have Castlevania on the NES 1, 2, or 3. I played it at friends' houses and whatnot because they had it, and I very much enjoyed the game. But back when 1991 rolled around, my father rented a Super Nintendo for us. He didn't buy one. He rented it. We also rented a Sega Genesis.
Back when the video store used to do that.
Rent the whole entire thing. And Super Castlevania number 4, which is not the 4th Castlevania. I mean, technically it could be, but it's a remake of the first game. That's why it's Simon again. That one, man, the opening theme song stuck in my head for years, like literally for years. It's probably my favorite song of Castlevania, and that's one of the things that stuck with me is that it's not just the gameplay, but the music is just amazing. And then when Symphony of Night came out, it cemented me in there. It made me want to play all the Castlevanias, the old ones, the new ones. I started buying all the ones that came out on the Game Boy Advance, playing through all of them, trying to complete them, 100% them, and like even games that are not technically Castlevania games, but okay, we call them Metroidvania games now, started making me want to play that. And I'm not gonna lie, I had Super Metroid, but I believe I got Super Metroid after I got Symphony of Night. And though I played Metroid back in the day, which doesn't really hold up, doesn't live to its legacy, Super Metroid trumps it. I hate using that word now, but it definitely.
Would you rather say Super Metroid 45's it? Would that be better to you?
Whatever. But Super Metroid, because of Super Metroid, Symphony of Night came around. Both games are fabulous. Of course, that's why they threw those names together. And, it just, ever since, if a Castlevania game comes out, the only one I don't have, not counting the stuff that's like on Game Boy or the MSX over in Japan, will be right now is Lords of Shadow 2. Like all the mainstream ones, I think I have all of them except for Lords of Shadow 2, and I don't have the second one on the Game Boy because that one's stupid expensive for some dumb reason.
Fallen, what's Castlevania mean to you? Real quick.
It's an interesting introduction for me. I know early on I got introduced to it back on the NES because my mom was a big fan of it at
Hey,
the
now that's a
time. So,
blessing
like she
right there.
played the first game like all the way through and was close to beating it. Like, and once the SNES came out, she got Super Castlevania 4 too. So the thing is, I was lukewarm about the series early on, but I think like over time, I really started to get into it, and in part, major part goes to Symphony of the Night. So I wound up having a better appreciation for the series as a whole and wanting to play the old ones. I played quite a few of the new ones. Um, and it's just one of those, things, one of those games that just has a really incredible legacy that, unfortunately it's kind of sort of got stopped in its tracks because of who. But it's definitely a series with a lot of prestige to it, and it's kind of funny looking back on some of them because I think it was a Super Nerd Plus. I think he might have posted it on the page, the commercial for Castlevania 64, which I didn't play until like about like 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the
And
worst ones.
it was, and the funny thing is like when it first came out, like they showed the commercials so much, like I didn't even want to play it. Like,
Wow.
Bro, I bought that one just off the name alone. And I never finished it because I played it and I was just like, oh.
It was bad. The
Yeah.
game was
Yeah,
bad.
it was aches and pains trying to play that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amarak, what's your memories of Castlevania, real quick?
I was one of those like action oriented kids. So when I saw Castlevania at first, I was like, yeah, I don't want to try that right away. And I had a Genesis, didn't have a Nintendo. It was more of a Genesis staple. I mean, a Nintendo staple at that point to me. And the very first one I actually played was Symphony of the Night. So I came in late. I did like it, but it was just like, nice story or whatever. It was. And then I
Blasphemy.
played the Curse of Darkness, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be a series for a while. And I played it and was like, oh, this is fun. Didn't touch it again until Lament of Innocence. Left it alone.
So you played Curse of Darkness before Lament of Innocence? Because Curse of Darkness
Well,
came after Lament.
Which one was the one that had that? It was just a weird case. It looked like Final Fantasy happened to it.
That was Leon more than
What?
likely. Because Leon
Yeah, Lament.
Belmont
That
is...
had to be Lament.
Yeah, that's Lament was the first one. And Curse is the one where you get Hector as the main character who's a POS in the anime.
Yeah.
But pretty badass in the game.
Okay, the Curse of Darkness.
We'll talk about that anime
Yeah.
eventually.
I
We
just
will talk
like
about
stop
that eventually. You're right.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed that clip. Make sure you check out our live content on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/culturejunkies. We also have a lot of content available on YouTube, unboxings as well as Blu-ray reviews. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/culturejunkies. And on top of all of that, if you go to culturejunkies.net, you can check out our merch store. The link is culturejunkies.net/merch. There's a lot of great merchandise there. So there's links and logos and stuff all around me. So check those out, and we will see you next time.